A major trade target for the Dodgers is now off the market. USC football's top commitment for 2023 might be getting cold feet. And UCLA's athletic department has just solved a major problem in terms of their crushing debt. Good morning. I'm James. This is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is Faithful Angelenos. It is July 30th, 2022. I am back at the airport. I'm about to go back to the West Coast. It's a beautiful thing. But let's talk LA sports first. If you like the content we've been putting out, clickety-clack the like button. Clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notifications bell. Hit that. It'll let you know when we drop new content. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist. And yes, comment. Do you really think I want to talk to people in an airport? Hell no, I don't want to talk to people in an airport, especially in Omaha, Nebraska. Now, before we get to the news and notes, let's take a look at the scoreboard. Do you recall at the start of the year how the LA Times was saying Julio Urias needs to go to the bullpen? Yeah, that was a really bright idea. Do you know he's 7-1 since the start of June? That includes a win last night. Dodgers 5, Colorado 4. The Dodgers, by the way, have a 12-game lead in the NL West. In addition to that, Carlos Vela scores his 7th goal to lift LAFC to a 2-1 victory over Seattle. There's a rapid recap, by the way, on our channel. Look for the LAFC playlist. It'll be there if you want to talk more about it. Meanwhile, tonight, the Dodgers will play Colorado again. That's Clayton Kershaw 7-2 versus Kyle Freeland 5-7. And the Galaxy will play FC Dallas at 6 p.m. tonight. LA has not won in Dallas since August of 2015. Now, every big name that's trying to be traded at this time of year automatically gets linked to the LA Dodgers, because you know the Dodgers have what seems to be a bottomless payroll, a limitless supply of prospects. Yeah, you can't win all of them. Luis Castillo was traded last night from the Reds to the Seattle Mariners. And by the way, as a side note, on trade deadline day, I'm probably going to be dropping a special report whether or not the Dodgers make a big trade. But let's talk about this one from last night. Look, Seattle has the longest playoff drought of any North American professional men's team in any major professional sport in North America. They haven't been to the postseason since 2001. Now, they're not going to catch the Houston Astros to win the AL West, but the Mariners right now hold the second wild card spot. So this is their chance to prove that they've made advancements. So they sent 4 minor leaguers, including 3 of their top ones, to Cincinnati. The reason I bring that up is because if you're starting to think about all the other top pitchers, and of course top hitters such as Juan Soto, if Seattle is sending 4, including 3 top prospects, what do the Dodgers have to give up in order to make a big trade? We'll have until Tuesday to find out. Meanwhile, other notes for the Dodgers. Dustin May will go 4 innings in his next rehab start as a starting pitcher. Blake Trinan pitched a simulated game on Friday. He'll do it again in a few days before they consider a rehab assignment. Danny Duffy, former starter for the Royals, current Dodger. He's facing hitters in Arizona. Rehab start, however, still weeks away. And Chris Taylor could begin a rehab assignment as early as next week. They just don't know yet. 5-star commitment. Quarterback Malachi Nelson of class of 2023. He's going to take an unofficial visit, as they say, to Texas A&M. Now look, he's the number 5 prospect overall nationally out of Los Alamitos High School. He went over to Florida, took part in an Under Armour tournament, and just basically lit up the sky with he and his fellow USC receivers. But for whatever reason, and he hasn't verbalized it yet, he might be wavering a little bit. The reason I could only speculate. The Aggies do not have a quarterback committed for the year 2023. And in the meantime, if you look at it that way, you could still say, well, maybe USC still has Caleb Williams under center for that season. So maybe the guy wants to play immediately. Maybe that's the hook. I don't know yet. Also, with regards to Pac-12 football, Utah is picked to repeat as conference champions. This is in a poll taken of Pac-12 writers. USC is projected to finish third. UCLA is projected to finish fourth. Under Armour, switching schools, is going to pay UCLA $67.5 million in the settlement of a broken sponsorship deal. Now, it got a little sketchy, okay? The good news for UCLA is that this paycheck is obviously going to cut down about 2/3 of the debt that the athletic department had to undergo ever since the COVID lockdown struck. They lost a lot of ticket revenue, a lot of TV revenue in the process. So this takes care of 2/3 of that $103 million debt. As for the deal itself, Under Armour backed out of it in 2020. Originally, they had signed a 15-year, $280 million deal back in 2015. Under Armour, the reason that they backed out, they claimed that the Trojans hadn't provided quote-unquote marketing benefits. And the Bruins were like, of course we couldn't. We're on lockdown, it's COVID. So basically, the sides sued each other. There was a lot of wailing and gnashing of teeth. But now, of course, a check is going to clear for UCLA, and both sides are spinning it with their Chamber of Commerce bullcrap and moving on. Fine, so be it. It's not like we're getting the money. The LA Chargers, now we've been mentioning in these recent tapes about training camp, about how their defense is just dominating the offense in the first couple of days. The thing that I failed to do is to connect the dots and mention something that's even more vital for this defensive uprising. They're doing it without Derwin James participating as a safety. Remember, he's trying to sign a contract extension and get paid more. So he's not on the field participating. So as a result, Mark Webb Jr., a second-year player, is picking up the slack. And in addition to that, they must like him a lot because he's cross-training in 3 different positions. Safety, his natural position. The star, which is a special position, as we've talked about, in Brandon Staley's defense. It's sort of a hybrid role as a defensive back with linebacker responsibilities. So he could line up anywhere on the field. And a third position called the money position. Now, the money position is actually similar to the star. It's just that they call it the money position when they need an additional hybrid defensive back linebacker on the field when they have 6 defensive backs on the field. In other words, if it's a 4 defensive back or a 5 defensive back, you need the star. 6 defensive backs, you also need a quote-unquote additional star. They just call it the money position. Hopefully that made sense. Another thing I didn't mention is, if you recall how you could run on the Chargers defense last year. Remember? Austin Eckler now is saying it's significantly more difficult for him to get any yards against the new look Chargers defense. So those things should get you pretty excited if you are an LA Chargers fan. Having said that, not everything is known. Who's going to win the right tackle job? So far, nobody stood out. Bit of an ish. Finally, 8 players have landed on Pro Football Network's top 100 list for the Chargers. Obviously, safety Derwin James led the pack. He's the number 24th ranked player in this top 100 list. Also making the team on defense,
all terminals are smoke-free.
Joey Bosa, cornerback J.C. Jackson, linebacker Khalil Mack. On offense, 4 people made it as well from the Chargers: quarterback Justin Herbert, wide receiver Keenan Allen, tackle Rashawn Slater, and center Corey Linsley. Meanwhile, for the Rams, they had an NFL officiating crew at practice yesterday to see how the Rams would actually be doing in a so-called simulated game circumstance. Sean McVay not happy with the results. There were apparently way too many flags thrown on the field. And the reason that this matters is it wasn't just simply, say, holding or pass interference or late hits. No, this was for dead ball penalties, such as offsides, such as illegal motion. Things that Sean McVay was like, nah, you got to be way past that by now. We don't care if it's still the first week of practice. So he's not happy. Having said that, he's still going to praise Troy Hill's leadership with the newer defensive backs, the younger ones. See, Jalen Ramsey can talk about the system, but he can't play the system right now, seeing as how he's injured and he's on the sidelines. Troy Hill, however, is playing and can demonstrate the system that the Rams are trying to run. And that actually matters because the Rams have circulated in a lot of draftees that they spent a lot of draft capital on defensive backs, is the point. Here is something that you might not know. Sean McVay told Sports Illustrated, quote, "I was selling my bleeping balls off to get this guy." And he didn't say bleeping. The guy, by the way, wide receiver Allen Robinson. Finally, former Rams edge rusher Von Miller, he winds up signing with Buffalo. We all know that. But then he winds up telling Peter King that it was, quote, "so hard to let go of LA. I get sad thinking about not playing with them anymore." Then why'd you leave then, bro? They were going to pay you. You consciously chose to leave for Buffalo. And by the way, you were texting a friend from the Dallas Cowboys saying how you couldn't wait to leave LA. So what do we believe? Are you getting cold feet now? It's too late. Move on. The Rams certainly are. Finally, Mark Stein is reporting that LeBron James will not leave the Lakers unless it's at least 2024. The reason that year is important is that is when his son Bronny is eligible to enter the NBA draft. By the way, side note, LeBron James is eligible for a contract extension on August 4th. Now, if you enjoyed this little clip, don't forget to like and subscribe to Faithful Angelenos. We are trying to build something here for LA sports. Thank you very much for watching. I'm James. We'll be back tomorrow. Faithful Angelenos is a Kian Corte El Queso production. Take care.